Hey, Justin, welcome to the show.
Oh man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good having you. It's we're sitting here in Vegas, and I was kind of chatting about your Braves hat. I was about to give you some crap because I'm a Cardinals fan, but
No, I get that all the time. People with my different hats on. I always tell people it's just a crown for me. So I got different crowns I wear. But I go, I'm a Sox fan. Sometimes sad to say, but I'm a Sox fan, and then I have every hat. So hats to match the fit.
So White Sox or Red Sox?
White Sox.
White Sox. Yeah,
there's only one Sox.
That is sad. That is sad.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, but so we were just kind of chatting about like new media versus old media, and because we're talking about the election a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you legacy media? Like, all the cable news networks. Like, what do you think they're thinking right now about their future?
Yeah, we're seeing quite a bit of like a change in media in general, and so legacy media is they're never going to be gone because they're still important. They're still extremely important, and so when you consider the election, you got to think the people that watch legacy media, those shows during the day, the cable TV, those are the main people that go out and vote. That's the older generation that's at home. Right. Most of them retired, right? Like this. They're watching cable TV in that way, so it's not obsolete where it's got to go away. But I think what we're seeing now, especially what we saw with campaigns, you're gonna have to dive into these other areas of media, the more the new form of media is like what I always call it, because there's no way around it now. Yeah. To reach masses, you have to get on certain people's platforms and really be able to do that successfully.
How do you think that's going to affect, like you see like injury lawyer advertising, things like that? How do you think it's going to affect that type of advertising and those types of firms that have relied on like billboards and TV for so long?
Yeah, I mean, I even see it here in Vegas, right? Like there's a certain level of lawyer that you see on every billboard, right? Every time. And you got to think, we can add up how many people pass that every day. Whereas, someone like yourself that's doing a newer form of media and other types of media, you can get millions of views from one video.
Sure. Yeah.
And people can find out about you in that way. I think one thing that a billboard can't do that this new form of media can do is build trust.
Sure.
And so while I'm looking at your sign and you got a little catchy phrase on it, that's cool. It caught my attention as I'm driving or as I'm walking past it, but I don't know anything about you. And so it's these type of conversation pieces, and I've seen it in every business now that can really propel your growth in that way.
It's a really good point, and I've always wondered how effective really billboards are. I worked early on in my career for what I call a billboard firm,
Mm-hmm.
and I always said, you put up billboards, you're gonna get billboard clients because you're like, I'm not gonna go hire a lawyer based on a billboard. I'm just not going to. But if you look at, to your point, like look at the big Joe Rogan interview with Donald Trump and JD Vance. They went on that interview and people really got to know them. I think most people know who Trump is at this point, right?
Yeah.
But then you got like his running mate that goes on there, and you compare that to the Kamala Harris and Walz, like they didn't, and so it's a really good point about really getting to know the person.
Yeah, I mean, really break that down, right? So if you look at what happened, the Joe Rogan YouTube, let's say just the YouTube video, 60 million views, right?
Incredible.
60 million views, right? You go to and what he did was with Joe, you sit down for hours. Right, like this
3 hours.
Like that's how those interviews are long. So he even did Flagrant too, which is
he did, yes,
comedic podcast, right?
Yes, yeah.
He sat down with them for I think 2 hours or somewhere.
Schultz,
Andrew Schultz,
Andrew Schultz,
those guys.
Yeah.
And so even in that interview, because I watched that full thing because I was like, why is he like? There's some type of strategy behind it. So
it was a wild interview. I watched that one too.
But you know what it did for the young men, right? That watch that type of content. What it did for them is I got to see Trump differently.
Sure.
Right. You got to see, like, we always knew he had the personality. Right. He's witty. Right. He's sharp in those type of ways. He knows how to conduct himself to be able to catch your attention. Right.
Yeah,
That's what he's good at. But I also watched him be a little bit more human, with kind of like kind of tearing down the shield with comedians. Right. Like it didn't feel like a got you interview. So he can do that, but that's what these conversations do. That's what podcasting does. That's what these type of formats do. They kind of break down that wall so that now you get to actually meet Justin and you get to actually meet the host. Like it's just how it goes. And so I really found it interesting that on Kamala's side, because truthfully, I'm not political at all. Right?
Yeah.
Like I vote for whatever makes the most sense for
I'm with
me
you
and my
yeah,
family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so when I looked at both parties, I was like, man, like hers felt like she only gave him an hour. It felt like super like talking point. Like I got these dialed in, I'm gonna say. And so it was like, yeah, like you guys are missing it, the new media part of it. Like you can't treat new media like legacy media and have your talking points dialed in, almost rehearsed.
Right.
Right. You have to kind of open up and be authentic to who you are so that like we can read through that. And that's what's great about the video. So
you have, I mean, podcasting's been around a while now. It was funny because I remember, and I don't think most people realize this, it actually started in like 05, like with the
time.
iPod.
Yeah.
And just, it didn't gain traction like till the 2010s,
Yep.
but it's really caught on fire. But like not everyone, I don't think, is going to be able to do a podcast, right? No. There's a lot of them out there now. There's a lot of competition. And I wonder, is there a next thing? Like podcasting was the next thing. Like, have you all kind of looked at the horizon to see what's around the corner?
No, that's a great question. So let's just break down what we've seen so far, right?
Yeah.
So it went from celebrity, right? Which
it clearly had zero effect on this election, right? Yeah.
Not at all. But celebrity, and it's still a thing, right? You see Denzel Washington in the airport. You're going to go, oh, wow, that's Denzel.
Yeah.
Maybe I want a picture. Maybe I want an autograph. Who knows, right? I'll try it out, right? That's a celebrity. But he has no influence on your decision making.
Right.
He's just a celebrity, right? It was cool to meet him, all right?
Yeah.
Then you have the influencers, right? That's what we've seen in the last 15 years or so, right? The rise of the influencer. Those are individuals that can get in front of a camera, have enough charisma and personality, and can communicate well enough to say things and do things that makes you think about wanting to do it.
Like the Logan Pauls of the world.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, Mr. Beast.
Kim Kardashian.
Right? Yes.
They develop business from their influence. The celebrity had a talent, developed skill, honed that talent, became great at it. Whereas the influencer may not necessarily come in with this massive gift that they have,
sure.
right? But knows how to be charismatic and communicate well enough to grow influence, right? So then you have the influencer. Then you have what I call the personalities, right? The personalities are your streamers, right? We saw Donald Trump do Aiden Ross. We saw him do, the difference between those is the streamers, right? And the personalities, they engage.
Yeah.
Right. So celebrity, no engagement whatsoever. The mystique is what makes them the celebrity, right?
Right. Yeah.
You don't know anything about them. The influencer, you can see their life on the screen, but you're not necessarily engaging a ton with them, right? Like
They're might be almost like the billboard.
Exactly.
Interesting.
You might be commenting, but you're not necessarily. You're hoping they say something back, right?
Yeah.
Then you got the personalities that's like, I'm in the room with you almost, right? They're reading the chat as we're talking.
Right. It makes a big difference.
All those type of things, right? And then I always say everybody else that does create something are just creators, right?
Right, yeah.
So like myself, I'm not a streamer, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not an influencer, I'm just a creator, right? So I can make content, I can speak on stages, I can do all these different things to create the content for you to intake, but I'm not necessarily in the chat trying to see what everybody has to say. I'm not a celebrity, and I'm not I don't consider myself an influencer. I'm not trying to sway people into a certain thing, right? So there's those creators fall on, that's education, that's entertainment, that's all those other pieces around it. So when you talk about like the evolution and what we're seeing happen next, there's going to become a point where that influencer's creed and ability to actually make change or like move people in a way, they're going to have to get more engaging. They're gonna have to.
You just kind of exploded my brain because it's something then, because I'm thinking about like how lawyers are gonna have to start marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, are you saying that they're gonna have to start to be that streamer type that what'd you call the person? What'd you call them again?
I call them personalities.
Personalities, like
yeah.
So, and if they're gonna have to be the personality, that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So that means they're gonna have to have the worker bees behind the scenes to do all the work.
Exactly.
Right? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, there's going to have to be a build out, right? So like it's going to take more than just your expertise, right? Like where you have the knowledge, if you're also going to be the face, you better get somebody else with knowledge behind you.
Right, yeah.
Right? It's when you hire your COO.
Right.
It's when you hire your producer. It's when you hire your PR. Like it's when you hire all those pieces to implement for you, right? The operators. But that face is going to have to be the driving force. I did a workshop yesterday. We did a workshop. We had about 75 people at the workshop, and they're just coming to learn from.
Was it here in Vegas?
Here in Vegas, yep. And one of the things that I spoke about, because I always get the question, hey, I have a brand and a product. Do I put my face on it?
Well, it's funny because with lawyers especially, like if you're the face or if you're the name, you name the firm after you, the client wants to hire you.
Right.
You know, so that's an issue.
Yeah, and so if you also like if you have a team already and you're not empowering that team,
Yeah.
right, then you're always going to be in the work, right,
100%,
and they're not going to be as valuable as they should be, right. So there's different things that you got to kind of focus on in this new phase of what people are doing in their business, especially for lawyers and other entrepreneurs, because like for instance, you know, I work with Ryan Pineda, right. You have no idea what I do, who I am, and most people that actually do know now what I do, it's only because he co-signed it.
Yeah.
Right? I've always been behind the camera. I've always been, you know, focused on helping build a brand versus actually speaking about it.
But
teaching
your role is integral though, because you know how it all works.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And those are the individuals that, like, if they can communicate well enough, if they can actually, you know, find a way to educate, will assist most in the face's business.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, yeah, Ryan, I'm here, and we roll, and I'm gonna make sure your brand keeps growing, and we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. But you shouldn't have to answer the questions about the content all the time. Right. They should be coming to you for real estate and business advice. Right. The big ticket stuff. Right. That's what they should be coming for. Let me take on what's happening in the content space, in the media world.
So let's dig into this a little bit more because I think this might help lawyers like find their COO types, right? So how did you get connected with Ryan? Like what was your background?
That's awesome. So I originally was moving to Vegas. I moved to Vegas in 2018. The original plan was to start with the Metro Police Department.
No, wait. Okay. Wow, that's drastically different than where you are now. Okay.
So I graduated from Valparaiso University in
In Indiana, yeah.
with a criminology degree and a minor in psychology.
Wow.
With the goal of becoming a police officer, hopefully making it to the federal level. My dad was a 30-year cop in Chicago, so that's where the influence comes from.
Is that like about an hour from Chicago?
Valparaiso, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would take that drive on the weekends heading home. But that's what my plan was initially. And we took the little money we had coming out of college and put our down payment on our apartment here.
Yeah.
And a week before we were set to move, I tore my patella tendon in my knee.
How'd you do it?
Playing ball. Of course. Like I was trying to stay in shape, trying to get runs in for getting ready for this academy. I started the academy in 2 weeks from that move. And so the plan was to just be ready, stay active, and do it. So it was like, hey, I got one more go around with my guys back home before I moved.
It was the last one.
It was the last last run. And so a week before we were set to travel across the country, I tore that patella tendon, complete rupture. I remember when it happened, it didn't hurt.
Oh, interesting.
And so I was like, okay, this isn't good. Right?
Yeah.
Because
when you don't have the pain, that's a problem.
I played ball, so I'm like, I've seen enough people like tear an ACL, and it's like it's painful. Like they're screaming, and then I was like, I don't feel a thing. And so I knew my body was immediately in shock. I knew that when I looked at my knee, I could definitely tell that it wasn't good.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, this is gonna put me down for a little bit. I had to stay 2 weeks back for surgery. Me and the wife prayed about it, went to sleep, woke up, and I was like, I'm still hearing that we should go.
Yeah.
So she took that trip herself. Packed down, had our stuff in our car. She drove it herself all the way across country.
So what'd you do?
Moved in. I had to stay back for surgery. I sat and watched her on my Find My app go across the country.
Oh, any kids at the time?
A 1-year-old.
Oh, she had the 1-year-old.
So she didn't take the 1-year-old. The 1-year-old staying with the grandparents. And
That's
then
good.
a week after my surgery, I flew. I took that straight leg, and I put it across the aisle in the airplane and flew across with the 1-year-old and the grandparents. So
wow.
That's what led us to Vegas.
Okay, so you get to Vegas. I mean, did you give up on the dream at that point, or did you say, I'm still going to become an officer?
My plan was still to become an officer. And so the doctor told me that I wouldn't be able to run for a year. And I said, Doc, you don't know me. You're crazy.
Yeah.
So 3 months I was working again. I started with the armored truck company. I couldn't even run or jump or anything like that. So I would wait till they all went inside the building and up the stairs, and then I would go up the stairs because I had to go one at a time.
Yeah.
So I did stuff so that they wouldn't see it, and that was kind of how I rehabbed as well. It was like, I can go rehab in a gym with somebody that's going to like keep me here because I'm paying for it, or I know what I got to do. So I kind of did that myself, and started with the armored truck because it was like the closest thing. That was always the next step for people with police.
Oh,
right?
really?
Like you go to armored truck, you learn how to use your weapon, and you
interesting.
You learn how to lose the fear of being out in the streets in a dangerous type of position.
It makes sense. I never thought about that.
Yeah, armored trucks are like the gateway to police. Or if you're military, it's like, all right, I'm out of the military now. I can't be police. I'm gonna go do that. So that's kind of how that works. So I did that for I think 6 months or so. And then I was serving at the local church is how I met Ryan specifically.
Oh, interesting.
So I was serving at the local church, and somebody came up to me and was like, I told him, I was like, hey man, I wanna get out of this job. I wanna do something that I'm a little bit more passionate about. And he was like, well, this guy's looking for a podcast editor. And so I DM'd him like,
did you have any background in podcasting?
Bro, not really.
No, so no.
No, not really. Like I had done 2 podcasts before that.
Okay.
But it wasn't like, these were like friends. Like it wasn't like a serious thing. And that was really the only experience I had. I just know me. Like if you give me an opportunity, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it work.
This is still back in 2018.
This was 2019.
Okay, so before,
2020.
Okay, 2020. Okay.
Early 2020. And so we had that conversation with him, and he was like, all right. So I DM'd Ryan, and I was like, hey, you found your editor. Don't worry about looking for anybody else.
Do you think he was going to respond? No?
I didn't think he was going to see it.
You took a shot.
I think he was even going to see it. I'm like, maybe somebody on his team will see it. Because at the time, I think he had like 100,000 or something like that, 80 to 100,000 on there. So I was like, he probably won't see it.
Sure.
And I didn't have a full understanding of like influencers. Like, I didn't really.
Well, that was early on in it.
Yeah.
I mean, and like that was so 4 years ago. So that, I guess it wasn't super early. It was like in the middle of it.
Right.
Like, yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't know. Like, I know now that these guys actually read their DMs, whether people believe it or not.
Yeah.
Right? Like they actually read them. So it's like
interesting. I wouldn't have thought that either.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't think so, but they're in it. They know
it's
what's
part of the
going
business,
on.
Right?
Yeah. So I also reached back out to that friend. I was like, I knew somebody who knew him, and I was like, let him know, all right, that I want to come in and talk about that.
Yeah.
So he ended up calling me. I came in. We spent an hour and we talked more about faith and family than the job. And so by the end of that conversation, he goes, hey man, tell me what it is that you want to make. And so I think I said something that was like $1,000 more than what I was making.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, so fast, I knew I messed up.
Yeah.
I knew right away I shot low.
What'd you learn about valuing yourself in that conversation?
Dude, what it was is I had no like real experience. And when you go in, you're like, man, this is a real operation here. Like this is a real thing that he's trying to put together. And and Ryan's the type of guy like he knows his vision. So it's like straightforward. I know what I'm trying to do here. This is what I want to do.
Did he convey that in that interview?
Mm-hmm.
What did that, as a job candidate, like what did that mean to you?
So like it's hard to get behind someone that doesn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was easy for me. One, the Faith and Family Talk told me that we align on certain values. And so that means like I can see this becoming more than just me being a video editor.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's other ways that I can support this mission. But then him understanding is like he was flat out like I want to be the most known house flipper influencer, I guess you could say. Right? And he was very clear on that. And so I was like, all right, I can help make that happen. All right.
You had limited experience. How did you convey confidence? I mean, were you open about like I've got limited experience, or were you just like I'm going to figure it out no matter what?
Yeah, and that's my mindset at everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure it out. Like I'm always going to figure it out. But for me, coming up playing sports, for me it was like you always think you're the best on the court.
Yeah.
Like
always. Yeah.
Like I'm never have.
I can
doubt.
make that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time.
I want the ball at the end of the game. I don't care who I have on my team.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter who I'm going against or who I have on my team. I want the ball. And so it was like, I feel that way about anything that I'm trying to take on. It was like, yeah, I've heard of D-Rock with Gary Vee. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, he ain't better than me.
Right, yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I could fit, I'm going to work until I get it, until I am great at it. And so that's where the confidence comes from, I guess you could say.
Sure.
I was like, I'm going to be, I got you. Like, what you tell me what you want to do, we're going to make it happen. Like,
what did that interview teach you about hiring?
One, care more about your core values than you actually do the skill of the individual.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen it now 100 times, right? Like people that come in very highly skilled can do certain things at a high level, but their core values don't align with the business. Yeah. And it just doesn't work.
Yeah. So we look for, we call them peeps. So people have passion, energy, they can energize other people. They've got edge, they can execute. And the last P doesn't mean anything. It's just we wanted to create a word out of it. So we call them peeps. Otherwise, they'd be called peas, and it'd sound weird.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so we have a certain mold that we're looking for when we're hiring attorneys and with case managers, whatever. And so, are there certain characteristics that you're looking for too? I know you talked about the core values, like just the value part of it's important, but are there like certain characteristics that you're looking for too that you know?
Yeah, well, a big piece is your faith, right? Like, well, it's not required. It will align. You will align better if you are a believer.
Yeah.
Right. I've watched that too. Like our office kind of shifted and changed. Right. Where that value became higher priority, and when who you bring in, then you see like you got people that like to be around each other. They're excited to come to work in the morning. Right. They're excited to work together to figure out how to solve an issue or solve a problem. Right. A new product comes out and everybody's excited about it because of the amount of people that it can help. Right, like your values are going to determine how much effort you're actually going to put into it.
Yeah.
Versus the guy that comes in that's like really high skilled and money motivated.
Yeah.
Right, and it's like, yeah, well, when you feel like you're not getting the attention or the money that you want, how much effort are you going to put into helping our clients and our community? Right, like it probably won't. And so that's where I learned that from him, like certain questions to ask first, like just be upfront. Right?
I was going to ask you, like, how do you figure that stuff out? Like, what are some of those questions?
So, for instance, like if I'm interviewing, like for people that I've hired, you know, I go, "Are you married? Do you have kids? All right. What's your thoughts about these things? Like, do you want to? Are you planning to?
Sure.
All right. Like all those things first. And like, what's the standard as a man? All right. What do you believe a man is?
Interesting. Okay, so you're getting deep with it.
Yeah, I want to know. Because you got to think like in a startup company and in an industry like especially these niche industries. Even for lawyers, like you're going to spend a lot of time with that individual, right? And I want to be able to stand next to you and know that you didn't insult or hurt anybody else that's in this room.
Yeah.
Right? Because, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, right? And so if that's the case, we got to be kind of on one accord here and represent in a certain light,
right?
Especially for people to trust us. Because again, influencing and having a business like that, it's all about know, like, and trust.
Always. It's never changed, right?
I can get you to know me.
Yep.
I can make my best attempt at getting you to like me. But at the end of the day, are you truly going to trust me? And with trust comes that support that you need to help your business grow. And so I want to be able to stand next to individuals that are like that, right? Like the majority of our office goes to the same church.
Interesting.
And it wasn't like you got to go, right? It was...
Yeah, I'm assuming
you get led that way.
You didn't hire all the people from your church.
No.
So they've kind of like bought into the culture and said, "Hey, let's check out this church thing."
Exactly. So it's important. That's a big one for us. I think when I speak to other business owners and things like that, one of the big ones that they have, that I've heard a lot, from owners, is they really want to be sure that you're more, intrigued with how you're going to assist the next person versus yourself.
Yeah.
And so, that's already, a servant mindset. You also got to be able to have that grit, right? Like,
100%.
Hey, don't let up, right? Like, you never heard a no before, right?
Yeah.
You got to know those type of mindsets that you need to have to be able to propel.
Have you made any bad hires?
Yes.
Like, what was is there like a ribbon that you can kind of figure out what was like the common trend or thread between all of them?
You know what? For bad hires specifically, like what I've seen, and truly I haven't made many, but there's a few that I can think of specifically. But what I saw in them was after achieving success, things changed, and that's just a character flaw, right? So, for instance, we start seeing really like videos really perform really well on our end from the media side, and money's flowing, and then all of a sudden, the conversations change to shift to where like you think that you're the reason.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So it's that toxic employee trait.
Yeah. And it's funny, right? So like one of the things that helps me actually promote myself is that I've done over 1 billion views produced, right? Like I've touched with just Ryan. That doesn't even count everybody else, right? I don't say that to say that I'm the reason.
No, yeah.
I say that to go, hey, we did this together, right? We done over 1 billion views. That's a lot of people. Whereas these individuals are like, how's Ryan up there taking credit for what we've done? And I'm like, no, it's not how it works, right? And I think that sometimes is a tough thing especially when there's a face to a product, right? To a company, there's a face. You got to remember that, like, they're here for him. They're not here for you.
Sure.
Right? Like he's gonna get the first opportunity. He's gonna get the first dimension. And it's like being the best on a team, right? Like if the Lakers lose, it's LeBron's fault. If they win, no matter who hit the last shot, it's LeBron's fault.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's just a part of it. And
Why didn't LeBron take that last shot?
Yeah,
yep, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, right. And so I think what happens is that people see success that they've never seen before. It's hard to kind of understand it sometimes. And in media, it's hard to quantify it sometimes, truly.
Yeah.
And they begin to kind of like, they believe their own hype. Like,
right.
You were a part of this. It wasn't you, right?
How would you say that culture affects the quality of the work?
That's really good. It's contagious, one, right? That mindset is extremely contagious, right? Where you talk to your coworker about what you want. I need a new raise. I need more money. Like, how come he's driving that? How are we driving this? And all those kind of things. It's contagious, and it starts to kind of bleed into other areas of the business if you got people that are communicating, right? Remember I said the business are people that like being around each other. Yeah. So that can change things.
It can go the other way too, right? Yeah. So it can go the positive or the negative.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So it does kind of shift culture, and then you get those individuals that's like, you can feel it on them, right? And it's like, oh man, what's wrong with you, bro? Like, what's important in that case, and I say this to any business, get rid of them right away.
That is something that we see people, they make that mistake. They hold on to them way too long. And they don't realize that the damage is being done on a daily, actually hourly basis. Yeah. Because what they don't realize is that they're talking about you behind your back. They're talking about the owner behind their back. They're talking about the other employees behind their back. They're causing all this chaos. And you think, oh, it's no big deal. I'll put it off for a week or two. But you don't realize the damage is being done every single day to your business. They're talking to clients. Yep. They're having a massive effect on you that you just don't see.
Yep. A big piece of advice Ryan gave me when he made me producer and overall in the media, he goes, be quick to fire, slow to hire. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I was like, but it was hard because I had relationships with the people. Mm-hmm. All of my hires were people that I had other relationships with. And so he goes, remember, like you have to, you got to trim the fat quick for things get too heavy.
Right.
And so I go, okay, all right. And one thing I trust, while Ryan's kind of like a leader in it and he may make mistakes, I trust his discernment and I trust what he believes in for the future because I've seen it work so many times.
How did he figure all that out?
I think people in his shoes, there's a certain level of genius, right, in areas. But I also think it's just life experience, right? Like he played, minor league baseball and he worked to get up to those big leagues and just was never able to actually do it, right? And then in business, it's no different, right? We see it on teams. And I think that's why we can kind of get along so well because I saw it too. Like I saw opportunities go to people that shouldn't have got them.
Yeah.
And then I saw people take advantage of opportunities. And I was like, okay, all right, like this is kind of how it works. Then you see trial and error. You got that one teammate that's mad that you playing more, all right, but he's supposed to be your friend, all right? And you got to figure out how to navigate that relationship.
Balance a little bit, yeah.
Right? So those are all things that, like, that world really applies to how you operate businesses as well. And I think if people kind of took a step back and peeled some layers back and looked at just life in general, family, right? You can see how some of those things apply to everything, right?
Like understanding, like there's a real power to like understanding where another person's coming from. It really is a superpower because if you can understand that, you can understand like the human nature of things. It'll take you a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to the celebrity and then influencer, the personality, all that. How is that? When did you first identify that trend changing to that personality type?
No, that's a great question. So 2021. I started to see a shift.
So early.
You're
way early on that.
Yeah, we started to see that change happening where live video was very important. I saw like, what you always got to pay attention to is the platforms when they add new features, right? It means a lot to the platform, right? So when Instagram adds live to it, and then YouTube follows up and adds a live to it, and then you got TikTok, and you got all these other platforms that are adding live features. Then you hear about Twitch starting to take off, and you hear about all these different platforms that means something.
So let's say, okay, so with that, are there like let's use Instagram as an example. Like, do they reach out to the creators in advance and say, hey, we've got this feature coming, or do they get your feedback on it first? How does that work?
There's always a beta phase.
Okay. And and they come to the influencers first, right?
Yep. They give them access to some of the features early on, right? So like for instance, probably a recent one, let me not say recent, the one within the last year was YouTube added A/B testing for thumbnails. All right, where I could create 2 different thumbnails and they'll A/B test it for me, and they'll pick which one they believe is working the best. That was something that not every creator had early on.
That's a hell of a feature.
And I could remember being like, "Come on, man! Like, why not giving it to us?" Right?
Yeah.
And when we got it, I was like, "Yeah." And then I realized that we got it, and everybody still didn't have it yet. And I was like, "Oh, okay, so they're rolling it out to certain things."
And that's a huge advantage over everybody. Yeah, that's massive.
So that's kind of how it operates. Like the platform, before they roll it out completely and spend money on updating their server, they want to make sure that it's going to be something that we even want.
Sure.
But in that, they know then like, oh, we got something, right? So when they add those new features, like remember when Instagram went from just photo to video?
Yeah.
They did that because they had to compete with the TikToks of the world. And so it was like, all right, we got to allow them to have more access to
and
these
YouTube
things.
added shorts and because they were absolutely trying to keep
all the creators that only could take video, or that, that person that would manipulate that photo a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It got a little harder.
I never thought about
right?
that. They had the filters on. Next thing you know, the video, you can't do that.
Can't do it as much.
Yeah.
But what did they do next? They added filters to the video.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just keeps snowballing into new things. And so that's how you can kind of stay up to date on what's going on, right? Like, and that's how I did it. Like, I've been trying to get Ryan to do live streams forever. For him, it's got to make sense business-wise on whether or not he wants to commit to it.
Because it's a massive time commitment.
It's a huge time commitment.
And that's what I'm worried about with lawyers is like, it's obviously an effective tool, but just you've got court, right? You're signing up new clients and all that. So it's got to make sense for the business.
Yep. And I was just, it's funny because I was tapped into down in Georgia, the YSL RICO case that was going on, right?
Yes.
And I wasn't watching for that because I don't really care about that, but I wanted to see how the lawyers, because they're becoming celebrity.
Yep.
And I always think in these moments that can make or break a career for a lawyer, right? Like, these guys are going to be like, you got to think about like Johnny Cochran and like that. These moments make or break, right? And so I was watching. I was like, everybody on the defense did a live stream after I got out of court. No way. Every day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, mind you, it was the longest court case in Georgia history.
Yeah, it went a long time.
Like, they're still going, right?
Yeah.
Like, but after every day in court, they did a live on Instagram.
I didn't know that.
Right? Because of the growth of celebrity.
Sure.
Right? You start to know Brian Steele's face now.
Well, right? And that's a risky thing too, because like we have certain things that we can and can't say.
But who knows better than you?
It's
on what
true.
You can say.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see, like, and it's going to play a huge part. Like, there's going to be some changes that they're going to have to make to be able to really kind of separate themselves from just the average.
Yeah.
Well,
how do you deal with? So we talked about new features, but what about like new platforms? So you said that like Twitch started becoming popular. I'm guessing you all weren't doing anything on Twitch. Like, how do you avoid from like following the bouncing ball? Like we're like, oh, it's a shiny object, I'm gonna go do that thing. Because there was that, I can't remember the name of the platform where it was just audio only. You remember that? It was like a couple years ago. Clubhouse. Yep. And the moment I saw it, that looked stupid. I was like, that's not gonna go anywhere. It seems like it may still be around. I don't know. It's not very popular anymore. But like, how do you avoid something like that where you invest in a new platform and it not go anywhere?
I don't. So I'm a believer of do it all.
Okay, that was part of my question. Is like, do you just do it all?
I believe do it all because you got to think there were some individuals, like a lot of, especially my age and up, thought TikTok was stupid.
Yeah,
it was like, don't get on this platform. It's for kids.
I wouldn't say I thought it was stupid. I was one of those people that was like, I don't get it.
It won't benefit me at all.
Yeah, it's right because it's so addictive too. Like, I actually don't get on it because if you're
a consumer, it's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
But even as a producer of content,
sure,
I was like, I don't know that this is worth it. Like, these kids aren't buying real estate for the niche that I'm a part of, right? Like, they're not. You know what I mean? So it's like, why should we do that? Now, Ryan has over 1 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
What that did for us, though, is just validity in certain rooms, right? And it does get eyes, right? And so stuff does happen. But if we wouldn't have never taken the chance on that,
Yeah.
that's a million followers that we don't have.
Okay, so here's a question I have with that, because there's I'd say a debate either internally with people in general, or they're vocalizing it, but there's the idea that I can get a million views or a million followers, but does that lead to clients, right? So how do you connect the dot between or making money for your own business, right? So how do you connect the dot between I'm getting the views, I'm getting the followers, I'm getting business from it, you know?
Well, here's what I was going to say next, even to the last question you asked about should I jump and be on all the platforms?
Yeah.
The reason why I say do all of them, because there are efficient ways where it doesn't take you any more work to be on all of them.
Right.
Right. So our TikTok content was never made for TikTok.
It was just made?
It was made for YouTube.
It was, okay, so for YouTube, okay.
All right. Because I know that YouTube are our clients.
Okay. Now, I want to make sure, because attorneys like to get into the details a little bit, so I'm sure listeners are like, okay, well, did you turn the camera sideways? Was it a portrait mode? So were you talking about for shorts, or was it more for YouTube? So you have the horizontal view and then you convert those into portrait view.
So let's run through the process, right?
Yeah.
We film. Let's say he's filming a direct-to-camera video, right? And for those that don't know, direct-to-camera is me looking directly into the lens and saying what I want to say, right?
Gotcha. I barely do that. I hardly ever do this.
Yeah. Most people get uncomfortable because it is awkward. I'm looking into this camera.
I have zero problem. I usually just looking at the guests.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But that's what those type of videos are. We were filming those type of videos wide enough to go on YouTube, correct? Right? That's that 16 by 9 landscape, right? But when we cut those, we film it wide enough to be able to cut it so that it's framed vertical. Right? So where I can go get 10,000 views on YouTube on a video or more, right? I can also put that on Instagram Reel and get another 100,000, which also goes to TikTok and gives me another 300,000, which then I can take parts of the transcription, put it in an AI ChatGPT and ask it to write this post so that it is optimized for LinkedIn. And now I have a LinkedIn post that's going to go out and do it. Right? I could take that same transcription and do a vlog. Yeah. Actual blog where it's written out and it discusses it with just a picture of that image of a still shot of the video that we had.
Incredible.
Right? So now I'm touching every single platform.
Do you have this automated? Like, do you have an automated process where you kind of like using like Zappy or something like that, where you just like plug it in and like with the ChatGPT stuff, right? So you do you have it set up where it's like that efficient?
So we just have a staff of 4 people.
Yeah.
Everybody's responsible for something.
Okay.
All right. And I developed a system that flows so that it's never out of order and it works together.
Oh, cool.
Right. And so if my editor of my YouTube video is complete, he knows who to assign next for it to be able to start the process for the next, whether it's a short or, fill in a blank. But that's how we kind of developed that system. So it's no more work to Ryan to be on every single platform, which is why I was like, do them all. Right?
See, that's nice. Like, so what are you? And I don't know if you mentioned this, but like, what are you using? Is there like a specific platform that you can plug this stuff into that it pushes it out? And
so our project manager. No, we don't. So that's posting. You're referring to like action.
Yeah.
So I believe in posting organic on everything.
Okay. All right.
Here's why. The platforms are created and they are valued by how much time you actually spend on it. Mm-hmm. So if I use a third party to actually just post out, that's no time spent on the app, and you better believe there's some type of AI system that alerts.
Oh, that's wild.
So if you're a creator right now and you're curious of why, like, you've been using like Monday or one of the apps that can push stuff out, and you're kind of curious on why like my videos have like tanked since I started doing that, it's because you're using that third party, and you're not spending actual time on the app.
So would it make sense? Let's say you're a lawyer, you're just kind of starting out. Would it make sense to pay some kid to kind of hang out on your freaking social media profiles?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a college student right now that's in school to become exactly what you're doing right now that would love to get insight on what people are asking, people are saying, and all those things on those videos. Not only that, they get to intake your information by watching the videos every day. So a lot of our early hires were creators that were also interested in real estate.
Oh, this is a great idea, because I could hire law students that have an interest in being injury lawyers and just say like, hey, here's what I want you to do. So while you're in law school, you're consuming my content.
Exactly.
You're doing it. Yeah, you make extra money on the side.
Yeah, I have 3 clients right now. 3 clients right now that I'm training a guy that's in a position to be just like what I am for Ryan. And everybody that they have hired have been from the local university or the local church. Church is where you can find servers, people that are knowing how to serve and want to serve people, but they also get professional grade stuff right away.
Right.
It's the only place that you get that, all right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about, like, this camera guy already comes with skill.
Yeah.
Because he's doing it every single week with professional grade level of camera work. It's a great place to hire somebody to do video work.
Such a good point.
Right?
Yes.
But then for the individual that's the content manager, that's the person that's posting, they may be responding to comments. We'll get to that too, because a lot of people forget that social media is social first and then media, so they don't respond to anything. But that individual then understands, like, oh, I'm actually wanting to know more about the niche, whatever the niche is. And so this is giving me free information. I'm getting free courses. Our lead videographer with Ryan is just turned 18. We've had him since he was 15.
You're kidding me. What?
We took him out of school.
What?
He knew he wanted to be in the media space. I had a conversation with his dad. Rest in peace, his dad ended up passing away. But I had a conversation with his father, and I was like, hey, he kind of knows what he wants to do. He quit his basketball team to film the basketball.
That is such a powerful, if you can figure out what you want to be as early as possible, I mean, it's amazing. It's so great.
And I tell him all the time, if you're 21 and still doing this, I failed you.
Wow.
It's a mistake on my end because you're seeing all of the wealth business and you got people, I mean, he's filming with the Grant Cardones of the world.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, you're getting a lot of opportunity, you're learning a lot. Just make sure you're intaking that information while you're actually doing the job. But at 15, at 16, it's a great opportunity for a kid who also understands the platforms, who's also on it anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
They live on it.
Yeah. And so they're perfect hires for those situations, especially if they're a little bit, it's got to come with some maturity.
Yeah, that's also a good point because like most kids aren't going to be able to do that.
Which is why the church is a great place.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's a really another good. The thing about the equipment though is I never thought about the equipment, the experience with the equipment, because most churches, I don't know if most, a lot of churches are equipped with all that professional equipment.
Level, yep.
Especially with they stream a lot of their sermons now and all that, so it's pretty advanced stuff.
Absolutely,
that's pretty cool.
Absolutely, I really got the opportunity to hone my skill with City Light Las Vegas, Pastor Jabin Chavez's church, where I came in with some camera skill, right? Like I was filming weddings and all that other kind of stuff. But to really get into like the real details of the high level stuff and live streams and all that kind of, I was able to take what I learned there over to Ryan and implement those things. So it really is extremely useful. And it's a great place to hire.
That's awesome. So I want to go to the social part that you mentioned, and it's be more broad, and you can kind of go wherever you want with it. But you mentioned the social. I wonder, like, what is the recipe? Because you've got like engagement's important, and I to be honest with you, I find that to be the hardest part because like we're busy lawyers, right? So you can get the posts up, but then the comments and all, it's like it can get exhausting and you can get distracted. I think the part that I hate the most is going on, and I will intentionally go on to try to comment just for the engagement, and then I'm distracted by 20 other videos. You know what I mean? So, but to back up though, like what is like that recipe that we're looking at? And then you kind of go wherever you want from there.
So what's important is to find the most efficient way, and again, it should be the least amount of work for you.
Sure.
Right? Whatever the easiest way is. So, for instance, if you feel like every time you get on, you start to get consumed with it, then maybe set up some automations.
Okay.
Right? So, for instance, every time somebody comments a certain thing on Ryan's page, you'll get a response. It's not him, but it's what he would say.
Okay.
All right. ManyChat is AI that's perfect for that.
ManyChat?
It's called Many, M-A-N-Y.
Okay.
Chat. Yeah, it's a perfect AI. It's got automations all up and through it. For instance, somebody comments podcast on Ryan's post, they'll get a DM of the most recent podcast.
Oh, so it's not just like some generic one. It's like the most recent one.
It's the most recent. Hey, check this video out. You're going to love it. All right. So if you notice, we'll set it up where his story says DM me podcast or comment podcast if you want to see the full.
That's even better. That's good.
So we're leading you where we want you to go. So he doesn't have to try to send the video out to everybody. Right. For me, content would be a keyword for me. All right. You say something with content in it. It's a couple automations that could fire off. Right. It could be, hey, if you're interested in learning more, I can help you with that.
Sure.
Hey, what's some questions that you have about it? Right, it's to spark the engagement, right, and that's what keeps it going. Now, that type of third party is designed and in partnership with the platform. So you don't have to worry about it hurting your engagement. Whereas other things may hurt, right? Go High Level is another really extremely good like service that can implement those automations. And those automations are all throughout the business.
Yeah.
Because you don't have, it's not enough time in the day for you to do the job and do that part of the business. So yeah, you definitely want to do that. And what I was referring to when I said people forget the social part is you got people commenting on your stuff that you're not responding to.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah.
Right? And what happens is you're not actually creating a community when that takes place. Whereas when you can comment, when somebody says something to you, especially if they like something, even if they don't like it, they just want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Right? Even the hate is really just love. Right?
Yeah, somebody told me, they said that every time, even if someone comments on something that's negative, they'll say, yeah, I agree, but, or like they won't say but, they'll say, yes, I agree, and they'll say it like, so it's like, even if they disagree, like I found it an interesting way of approaching it.
Yep. Yeah. And so these are ways, but so like people forget that if you're in a social setting in person, all right, and someone came up to you or somebody said, hey, I like those shoes, man, and you just look at them.
Oh, yeah. And then you're like, okay, I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to compliment you anymore.
All right, dude's weird.
Yeah,
what's up with him?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, that's how that's going to work. Well, that's what's happening to people on their platforms. Somebody's coming, hey, I like what you said right there. And you're not responding. And they go, well, on to the next person.
Yeah.
Right? I won't comment on his stuff anymore. It's like somebody saying happy birthday and you don't respond.
Right. No,
like,
absolutely. Yeah.
What's happening here? And so it's just people have to remember the social part, especially in today's space. Because it's over for the guy that can just, speak well and look good and that's done. We're seeing a brand new shift. Just this year, we're seeing a brand new shift of the guru is gone. It's over with.
Yeah, talk more about that. Explain, and why is that?
So from 2021 to 2023, it was possible for anybody that had some type of motion of business to go on a platform and sell education.
Yeah, and we're seeing that it's like in every industry. Like it's bad with lawyers. Everyone's a freaking coach. It's crazy.
Yep. Well, a lot of them are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
One, selling high ticket in the economy that we're experiencing is difficult.
Yeah.
Two, you all don't even have the right track record to even be able to teach me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like I'll tell people all the time, like, if you're coming to me to learn how to go viral, I'm gonna send you somewhere else. I'm gonna send you to somebody else. That's not what I'm teaching you. All right, I'm gonna help you figure out how to create a community that's gonna generate you revenue in the business. I'm not here to help you get views. I can get 2,000 views and convert 10%, and we're doing great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's how I see it. I go, so if you want to go get famous, be celebrity, or be influencer, then probably seek somebody that's gonna go.
The things that don't work anymore.
Yeah, it's gonna take you a little minute, and you got to figure it out.
It's more of an ego play.
Whereas I'm gonna look at the individual's track record. What have you done in your business? Because that's what's most important. That's what I want to tell everybody.
Yeah.
All right. How many wins have you had? How many cases have you got? Like that's what I want to know, so that then when we make the content, it's based on the truth. And that way, the creed is there, the relevance is there. Like people understand who you are as an individual. Now the entertainment pieces we add is just going to be entertainment, but you're going to know in the back of your mind he's a real deal.
Yeah, how much do you balance the entertainment part? Like, if you have like a lawyer as a client, like how much do you balance like the serious with the funny stuff?
I see a lot of funny lawyers.
Yeah,
I would never hire them.
Okay. So I'm glad you said that because I'll be honest. I mean, and I was kind of like, okay, well maybe it's just one of those things where, like I see because you'll see a successful person, and a lot of times people are like, and I'm not my brain's not this way, but like a lot of people are like, well, they're successful, I don't like them.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of these successful lawyers that are on TikTok. Well, they're successful on TikTok. I have no idea if they're a successful lawyer. I'm thinking like, I would never hire you. Like that's like my initial reaction.
Yeah.
So like you're a non-lawyer and you have that, and that's like thinking like, well, why? I don't know. It just to me that's where it doesn't compute. Where, yeah, you're entertaining on TikTok, but I would never hire you as a lawyer. So there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, you have to look at what the niche is, right? Whatever I need a lawyer for is too serious to be in here playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I don't want somebody that's playing.
Right.
All right, but there is an entertainment factor to the content, right? So, for instance, you can, let's say, the best way possible legally can tell a story of a case you've had in the past.
And we can do that all the time. I can tell you about all my cases as long as I don't mention the client or enough details that you could identify the client.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can do that, and there are going to be some entertainment pieces to that, and those are the pieces that I'm going to cut. but I'm also a few clips later is also going to be the result in how you won.
Right.
Right. And I'm going to make sure that stands out. Right. So it's like, that's how I balance. Right. So for instance, I'm talking about Ryan because he's my most well-known client, but Ryan's golf clips, a lot of time don't have a ton to do. It's not a lot of value every time.
Yeah.
Now, there are certain clips where they're having conversation that is high value, right? Because it's a golf course and that's where it happens.
Sure.
I'm giving you both.
Oh,
you might see the swing at the beginning and then you might see the conversation, right? So I'm making sure that even with his personality, you're also getting a lot of value.
Yeah.
And that's even for a lawyer. That's why that's important, right? There's some conversations that you may be having with your team that will be extremely valuable to somebody that's trying to learn.
So who's recording those conversations?
The 15 or the 18-year-old now that I've been talking about.
Yeah, so you got
or
someone
myself.
Kinda, yeah.
If we're a lot of times if we're at a golf course or we're out of town, it's me because I travel with them everywhere. If it's local to Vegas, then I send the kid out. Yeah.
So would it make sense then to have like, as lawyers, like, well, you know, and maybe not all the time, but like have someone like when we're going somewhere following us around, like recording us all the time?
Yeah, if you know that you're going somewhere where there's going to be value to be given, or you think like, hey, I know I'm going to have a lot of conversations here.
Yeah.
It's great to have somebody there.
And are you using like professional equipment when you're doing it, or is it like a cell phone?
I switch up.
Okay.
I do both.
Because the iPhones are amazing now.
I do both depending on where I want to put the piece.
Yeah.
So if I know that I need some content, you know, for that feels more organic and kind of raw and what people like in that way, then I'll pull out the phone. And then I also have a setup that has an attachment so that a phone can sit on top of my camera.
I like it, yeah.
And in that way, I'm catching the clean, professional level kind of great footage, and then I also can press record on that phone.
Kind of like a gimbal? Is it like a...
It's not even a gimbal. I handhold everything. I don't even use a gimbal because I don't want to carry all that equipment.
Yeah.
So it's just an attachment that goes on like the hot shoe of the camera, and then it allows for me to have both going.
Yeah.
So it's pretty...
Here's a question I've always had about the audio too. Like, so you're with the iPhone does a pretty decent job of capturing audio, but like if you're using like a camera, professional camera, the audio is different. You usually have a mic or something. Yeah. So let's say you're out on the golf course, right? Yep. How are you capturing make sure you have good video and audio quality?
So usually Ryan wears a live mic.
So he's wearing he's wearing
a live mic, and then I also have a hot shoe mic. So if he's talking to someone, I need to catch both. I'll click that live off.
Oh wow!
And just but if it's just him and I want to capture stuff that he's saying to people, then I'll make sure that live catches.
So there's production to this.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's always going to be some level of production, right? Which is why it's great to have someone else there. Like if he had to do it himself, it'd be a disaster, right? But because there's someone there I'm not playing the game,
right?
Right, and I'm actually paying attention to what's going on. I know exactly what I'm hearing and go, okay, that would be good. Right. And some of that takes some training as well. Like that's what I'm teaching when I'm coaching people is like, hey, you know, if he goes into this, make sure that you press and record.
Sure.
Don't just stand there and watch. Right. I had to show our guys that because we get all kind of people in there. It's people that they see online all the time. Right. And I'm like, don't get hung up on who it is. We need to get that filmed, right?
Right,
like,
yeah.
Make sure you're recording it. So
walk me, if you don't mind doing this, but like, so we have a lot of injury lawyers that are watching. We have a lot of different types. So estate planning, criminal defense, family law.
Awesome.
But I'm an injury lawyer, so it's easier for me to kind of go through this route. So let's say you're advising me. Here's how you should do this. Like, would you walk me through how we would how would you start? Like, how would we? What sort of things are we looking to capture for people? Like, would you kind of so to get the end goal for us would be get the most clients out of it, right?
All right. So you make there's a certain type of avatar that you make the most money with.
Sure.
Yeah. Tell me about that person.
So we call her Mary Green.
Okay.
So she is a professional. She's a surgeon, is what she is actually. She lives in Chesterfield, Missouri, which is a part of St. Louis, which is not too ritzy, but it's a nice area of St. Louis, of the greater St. Louis area.
Okay.
She's got a really good insurance policy, drives a nice car. That's generally, and we have many other types of clients, but that's the one that nets us the most money.
Okay. Now I want you to get in her mindset.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me what type of content does she watch?
Ooh,
and I know that's something that you've never thought about.
I've never thought about that. That's interesting. That because it's such an obvious question. It seems, but it's so probably something similar to what from a professional standpoint, probably something similar to what I would watch. But I'm a man, and so she probably watches different videos. documentaries maybe. She probably has limited time because she is a surgeon, because she's probably watching videos in her spare time, probably on Netflix, maybe some I'm thinking about like what my wife kind of watches too, like maybe some horror flicks.
Now, you don't even have to answer.
Yeah.
What you just did was perfect.
Yeah.
Because we're going to create exactly what she watches.
Oh, this is brilliant. Okay. All right.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean we're going to go do a documentary.
Right.
What that means is that we're going to show documentary style what you do.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. You got a call today. What's your schedule look like?
So today's all recording for the podcast.
I know. This is how I.
Okay. So like
this is just hypothetical
say
how
Monday.
I would coach, right? So a Monday is the day that you do your call.
Yep.
Right. I go, let's see who we talking to this week. And I'll go, hey, is there anybody on this call list, on your schedule, that we can film? And if not, I'm still going to film you. We'll just take parts out that we can't use.
So like maybe at the desk and like you're recording me.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
It's going to look like you don't even know I'm recording.
Sure.
But don't worry about me. I'm just going to be in the room.
Right.
So you may see me take this angle. You may see me move around. Once I piece that all together, it's going to feel like a documentary.
Yeah.
So what that does is, and you don't know it, but you're being fed what you watch normally anyway. So if she's watching documentary style stuff, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
and you don't have any of it, the algorithm itself is not going to feed her your video. All right. For instance, if you don't like golf, you would never get the golf video that I'm talking about.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of how you have to think. What is my customer, my supporter? I like to call them, I hate calling them customers, but what does my supporter watch on the daily? What do they intake? And how can I create around that with the intention that the algorithm sends them my stuff?
Right.
Because if it starts to send it to her and she's already worked with you, it's going to send it to other people like her that will most likely work with you.
Yeah. How do you deal with things like market segmentation? So like we get a lot of referrals from attorneys, right? So and the attorney side of things where we get cases, we almost kind of treat them like clients too, where like we'll market to those people. So, but the content that Mary Green might get is going to be completely different from that other side. So how do you, is there a way of actually even doing that with the algorithms that would be even effective? Or is that sort of like a lost cause where if you split some of the content towards the attorneys and a little bit towards Mary Green, you're gonna split it up so much that it's not gonna be effective?
No, so and again, like the way the algorithm works is you don't even see things like in order anyway.
Yeah.
Which is why you can do both. Like you go on Instagram right now through your feed, you're gonna see stuff from an hour ago, 2 weeks ago, 9 hours ago. Like it's gonna be all over the place. Which why quantity for me, I always teach quantity. Right? Like it's the most important piece for me because I'm getting more at bats.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it may split up some stuff for a little bit, but then it might start to work.
Could you do something like, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday I'm gonna target Mary Green.
Yep.
And the other days I'm gonna target the attorneys.
You could create a schedule like that for yourself.
Yeah.
If that helps you actually achieve creating the content, then yes, absolutely. But if like what will happen essentially is you'll get so used to that order that it will become automatically anyway. And you're like, oh, I need some of these types of videos now.
Sure.
Right? Because I also believe in batching, right? So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna come see you for a month. We're gonna do this organic filming, right? And then we're gonna put it all together. And
so you're not doing this every day?
No.
So I was kind of envisioning that kind of interesting.
Ryan, you see how much Ryan, we put out 6 shorts, almost 4 to 6 shorts a day for Ryan.
That's incredible.
We do 3 full podcasts a week for him, brand new ones. And then we usually do a 4th one that's just like, a repurposed, right? He films 6 hours a week.
Wow, that's not bad at all. 6 hours a week is not bad at all.
That's intentional filming and it's podcasting. And what's great about podcasting is for him, he's either the consultant or he's being consulted within the podcast. So it's what he would be doing anyway, right? Yeah. So for us, it's like this isn't any more work to him. When you see him in the car or on a golf course, that's stuff that he was doing anyway. So we're not disrupting life in any kind of way, except for those 6 hours, and that's just intentional.
Do you think we'll start to see like companies in general, whether it's law firms or whatever, like start to have like departments, like social media departments, where like they're almost like the accounting department or like the billing department? You know what I mean? Like
it's marketing.
Are we gonna start to see that?
It's marketing.
Yeah.
Right. This is social media marketing, right? And it's new, but everybody, it's not going to be a question on whether or not you have to have it. Like you're gonna fall way behind if you don't in your business, and that's just the truth of the matter. And it's not because I'm in the industry, because this is all new.
Yeah,
right. I remember
it's like evolving. You've had to evolve with it,
dude. When I started, there was no one that I can get advice from, really.
Yeah,
there was like two or three. Yeah, there were like 2 or 3 people that can tell me how to do this role, and it was like, all right, you just got to learn it. Yeah, you got to go figure it out.
Was it trial and error for the most part?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still trial and error. We really don't know.
Yeah.
Because the platform can shift its algorithm however it wants to at any given day. It changes weekly. So we don't actually know exactly. That's why I'm never going to lie to people like, hey, you do this, it will get you. Anybody that says that, it's just not real. The only cheat code, consistency.
How many companies have you seen come and go that like they think they've got it figured out and then they don't, and they stop testing, so they just go away?
They go away.
Yeah.
People usually don't last a year on social.
That's really?
Yeah, they don't even get through the year.
That's incredible.
Because one, when you spend money on it, you expecting a return, and that return don't usually come for months.
Yeah.
Right? Or it doesn't come in a way that you can quantify it.
That is a big issue where because I know that Facebook is very good for us. Okay, we post regularly on Facebook, but it's really hard to tie that client call to it being Facebook. But generally we're like, okay, we know the more we do on Facebook, the more clients we get. We know that with the less we do, the less clients we get, because it's a very effective medium for us. But it is so hard to tie those together. So how do you track those kind of KPIs?
You trust it.
Yeah.
That's
a really hard thing for lawyers to do, by the way.
I know, because they know, yeah. And real estate, imagine, right? Like, these are all number guys. Like, they're like, hold on. Here's what I'll say. The last 90 days, and I'm going to go back to Ryan because that's who people can see and would know is the largest client I have, but we got 250,000 watch hours on YouTube.
250,000?
250,000 watch hours in the last 90 days.
That's incredible.
It's almost 30 years of
that is incredible
watch time.
Yeah, I think it's a number that it's hard for people to wrap their brain around.
They don't really understand it.
I'm glad you said that, because you can't understand that.
You can't understand it. Most people would be happy with 250,000 views in 90 days. We had that in watch time, right? Yeah. We had that in watch time. What that means, and for any listener or viewer that doesn't understand, what that means is people are actually spending time, hours of time, with us on the platform.
Lifetimes of time.
So the point I make with that is, well, I can't quantify how many of those viewers converted into a supporter.
Sure.
I can tell you that it would take you forever to get that amount of watch time making a 30-second clip.
Right.
Or a billboard or any other form of media. It'll take you forever. It'll take you a ton of them to get to that point. What gets people to support is the time spent. You and I right now are developing a relationship because of the time we're spending and how we're communicating. I'm not going to walk out of here like, hey, I got an injury, I need a lawyer, and not think of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Because of the time spent, right? So that's how it goes. Like, the more I can get people to spend, and I can tell you now, like, we don't have to get a ton of views on a video. Like, we got some that do really well, we got some that don't. It just is what it is. We also don't care, we don't care about how much money we get on the AdSense.
Sure.
Doesn't matter, right? Like, if it's $250 or if it's $10,000, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's okay. My focus is, are they spending time with me? Mm-hmm. And right now, our average viewer stays at the very least, and this has been consistent for the last 3 years, at least 20 minutes on our videos.
That is a long time.
Yeah, because you got to think, a lot of creators only make 20-minute videos.
Yeah.
We're making 2.5 hours, and they're spending at least 20 with us. And so that's a key point, because if you went to door knock someone to tell them that you this is what you do and this is what you're selling, think about how long 20 minutes is standing there at that door.
It's a long time. I mean, that's a long time. That's an eternity.
Yeah.
3 minutes is an eternity for like standing at a door talking to somebody, Yeah.
So while Ryan can't quantify what comes in from that, he knows that it's having an impact on the business.
Yeah, that's wild. There was something you had mentioned. It was like so fascinating. I want to get to it. I don't remember what it was, but it's because like you have all these great ideas and like these thoughts. It's like I've got these explosions in my brain. I think like this is fascinating. Like what would you advise? So let's say there's an attorney that's just starting out. Like they're like, I'm talking new in their career. Like so they think I'm going to graduate law school, but they'll go work for someone for a little bit, and then I'm going to start my own law firm.
Yep.
Like how would you say someone like that should start out?
Before you even go work for someone, make sure that it's someone that understands what the new age is going to need to succeed.
Sure.
And what I mean by that, make sure it's someone that has a face, someone that understands a little bit about social media. They're doing the things that you know are going to be needed in the future. Don't just go get up under, Joe Smo, who has he's 65 and stuck in the way. Like
Right.
that's not going. It's gonna start you still start you off wrong, essentially. And I hate to be that guy that says it, but it's true. Like, if he can't figure out and make adjustments with what's necessary now, then what makes you think you can learn from that?
Yeah.
And so what I look for, if I was starting off in that way, what I would look for first is, hey man, there's a generation out here that, are you actually in front of them? All right, are you in front of them? Because as I'm growing, they're going to be my clients. All right, as I get the next 10 years in this industry, those individuals that right now are doing their dance on TikTok are going to be my clients. So they should know who I am already going into it, right? Then the next thing would be, are their values aligned with what you're trying to do, right? Like, I know, the law space can be really gritty, really nasty,
yeah.
right? And so it's like,
But to be honest with you,
Does it
it's a
align?
that's a small percentage of the.
I'm sure, every industry.
Yeah,
I don't believe that for, like I said, I was on my way to being a police officer, and this was, my community. We ain't with that.
Yeah.
Right. And so it was like, knowing that I seeing my dad, I was like, that's a few of them. That ain't
Few.
You know what I mean? Like, we know them, right? So it's like, if you can know the few people, then you know that it's not the majority. So that's the case with everything. But I do believe, like, you got to make sure that you align with the individual, and then make sure that the individual actually wants to see you win, because that's another piece. Like, people get mentors that are actually competitors.
That's such a good point.
And it's like, it's that keep your competition close type of, keep your enemy close type of thing, right? Where they'll get you in a position and make you think that you're not as good as you are, and now you're not actually growing. You're actually just trying to compete.
Yeah.
So that's also something else to be mindful of.
Yeah. So I was kind of smiling because the first law firm I worked for out of law school was a guy. Every time I'd bring in a client and I'd send letters out, we would put them up. This was like whenever we'd send letters all the time, now it's like all emails, but you'd put them on this little shelf, and then the receptionist, we'd sign them, and the receptionist would go and like put them in an envelope and send them out.
Yeah.
So I'd set my letters to the clients on there, and he would go behind me, take all my letters that I wrote, throw them in the recycle bin, print new ones with his name on them, as opposed to took my name off them and then sent them out.
That's funny.
And because I only found out about
insane.
it. Yeah, I found out because one of my friends who's a client said, "Hey, I got this letter from this guy. Who is this guy?" I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me." So you're right. Like the wrong mentor can lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then you were smart enough to see that and go, "This is wrong."
Oh,
think about how many individuals go, "Oh, that's just the way it's done."
Yeah, it's okay. It's his firm, It's no, that's nonsense.
Yep.
That's we butted heads, to say the least.
Yeah. I would imagine.
Yeah. So okay, so you'd mentioned before about, like, if you saw like your lawyer on there, like, being goofy or whatever, you wouldn't, like, you're not going to hire that person.
Yeah.
So how do we balance that? Like, how would you recommend, like, whenever I start putting out my like social media content, all like what am I? Because I want to be that personality type, not the influencer, right?
Right.
I'm not looking to be a celebrity. So I guess, what am I doing in those videos? Like, if I'm doing lives, okay, what would you recommend I'm doing, like, on a live?
Yeah, so on a live, and this is people. You want to remember that your common knowledge is people's ignorance.
Yep.
So the stuff that you have up here already, that the experiences that you've already had that have taught you things, are people's. Like, we have no idea.
None. Yeah.
Right. I know. Do you know Erica Kohlberg?
I don't think so.
So she's a lawyer, but she made, massive presence now on social media just from reading the fine print on products. So that's it. She would make videos, hey, or like, if the airplane loses your luggage, they owe you, and she would just read in the fine print. Millions and millions of followers, millions of views, right? She taught me that even a year from when I buy these shoes, if they mess up, I can take them back and either get the money for them or the actual product again.
You just gave me a brilliant
part
idea.
of Nike's policy.
That's incredible.
No
way.
I mean, people throw the shoe away when it falls apart.
I love these shoes, by the way. I don't know if people can see it. On the Zoom app, you can actually see it. But I got to tell you something funny about these shoes, and we'll go back to this.
Okay.
My son, he had some that looked just like this, only they had yellow swooshes on them.
Okay.
We call them the Ronald McDonald shoes.
That's so funny.
He loved those. They were his first pair of Nikes. And so I saw these, I was like, I was looking for the yellow. And I was like, oh, there's no yellow on them. So
Jordan 1, man.
Yeah, exactly. So those are Jordans. But anyways, so yeah, let's go. Let's go back to that though. So I was when you were talking,
but she made it, but there was an audience there. I don't want to read the fine print.
Yeah.
So what problems are you solving?
Yeah.
And what she did was she would make it kind of entertaining because if it was something for like United Airlines, she would do the green screen where she's standing at the United Airlines counter.
Yeah.
So it wasn't silly. It was like, oh dang, like it's humorous.
You almost put yourself in there in that situation. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, and then she would like sometimes play and put like the hat on or whatever it is, right? Like she would kind of get the character down.
Right.
But the point was such a good point, and it was such valuable information that people are like, oh, I can get with this because it wasn't silly. I see lawyers like doing the transition videos where they like the guy falls off the gurney and then they roll into the information.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, my man, like I need some help here. Like I don't need you playing, right? Like
we had a video guy wanted me to do something like that, and I didn't do it. I was like, I'm not doing that.
And video guys are gonna say do it because it will get the views. Ryan did some of them,
sure,
because it would get the views, and then we quickly was like, no, this don't make sense for you.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense for him. There's other people that it makes perfect sense for, certain audiences. Right, so you just got to kind of know your audience. You got to know what they want.
Well, you gave
from
me a great idea. I'm glad you said that because I can do it with the same thing with insurance policies and settlement releases. Like taking this stuff that's pretty complex that even lawyers screw up. We talk about I've seen lawyers screw up settlement releases all the time. And it's things that are they seem so innocent, small little things.
Simplify it for them.
you simplify that for the audience. I think that's great. Like I hadn't thought about something like that.
Yeah,
that's
because
easy.
most people don't realize that the information that they have in their head already is, again, someone's ignorance. It's extremely valuable to the person that doesn't know.
Right.
And so I say the thing, like even the content side, I'd be saying something like, y'all thought that was good. I was like, that's just something that I would think that you would understand.
Yeah, well, like where do you track your all's ideas? How do you like you talked about the insurance, you talked about what you call those videos?
The policy.
Yeah. So what you have an idea for a video? Like, do you all track that in a database somewhere? Like, how do you keep track of all that?
So for me, I do so many now that I don't really. I focus it on a case by case. So it's usually by client.
Okay.
Right. So I have real estate clients. I have some music artists, like clients that are like they're not artists, but they're in the industry. I have a guy that is like he's business and comedy, believe it or not.
Interesting.
And so what his focus is so niche that it's so niche to the Latino community. So I had to start to learn more about that community and how that relates and how they
Latino business and comedy. All three. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Which made me realize, oh wait, so there's niches within the niche too. Right. And so but like these are all things, and what I first just break down who the avatar is. If you can break down the individual who you're trying to reach and what they're already wanting, then you just figure out it makes most sense to create something similar for you. So in real estate right now, we know that most real estate investors are excited that we got our new president.
Yeah.
I was prepared for ideas for whoever won.
Either one, yeah.
Right? Because I know how they would feel if one side won. I know how they feel if the other side won.
How do you brainstorm them?
I do a lot of like intake of that specific niche. So like I'm looking at what everybody else is saying because I know that that's also what the creator is watching.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just regurgitation.
I bet your algorithm's so messed up.
It's completely
You get a new
screwed.
client, you start looking for new things.
It's completely screwed.
Yeah.
The only videos that I know are for me, that are because of me, are basketball highlights. And for some reason, I get stuck on like animal content.
Oh, why?
No, don't ask me why.
You watched too long a couple videos.
That's all it was, right? Like there was a guy wrestling an anaconda and it caught me. And it was like, funny. That was it. And so every so often, I'll see one of these clips of a guy named Tarzan, like the real, and he's
You have to like
wrestling.
scroll through. Okay, not that one. Not that one.
I got to
not
make
that
sure I like enough stuff that I want to see, so that it starts to tweak and
Yeah.
change in the algorithm.
So
Because
you're
that's
doing-
also a thing. Like if you want to train your algorithm to
Yeah.
send you certain things, then just like and comment on some of the things that you want to see.
Yeah.
And then you'll start to see more of it. Right? It's just how it goes. It's sending you what they believe you're going to spend the most time on.
Yeah. So how, if I'm trying to get into Mary Green's mind, right? I'm trying to figure out what is she watching? Like, what are some ways? I mean, am I going to ask people? I mean, like, how are you figuring out? How are you getting into that and to deep dive into that?
So you asking people is great.
Yep.
Right? Like you said, she's probably watching what my wife is watching. Take your wife's phone and go see what she's watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, babe, or you make a video and you show your wife first before it even goes out. What you think about this?
Oh, interesting.
There's been plenty of time my heart's been crushed from my wife saying, Justin, that ain't it.
Yeah, they've got a way of doing
Yeah,
be able to say that
they're gonna
one
give you
thing.
the truth.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
give you
the
the
thing they
truth.
want. That's the thing you don't want to hear, but they give you the thing you need to hear. Yeah.
So that's always a great thing. Going back to Ryan, his wife Mindy was his editor at first.
Yeah.
Before he built out the team, and so she knew like this is how he wants to be seen. So they know the type of content, right? So asking questions, talking to your spouse, especially the avatar that's like it, right? Figuring out what that looks like. But then also, you can usually go see who the person follows. All right. So I do that when I get a new client. I go look and see who they follow.
Okay.
And then I go look and see who follows them. And usually I can tell, all right, if this person follows you and this lawyer over here, and then I go to that lawyer and they looking at, and I see comments from them or I see likes from them, and I'm like, oh wait, they kind of like that.
Okay. So what do you when you were able to identify that? What are you looking for?
Specifically on
So you identify, okay, who's this is who you're following, this is who they're following, all that. Like, are you looking to see like where they're commenting? I guess like what common things are you looking for?
So I check for the hook of the video.
Oh,
right. What's the first few seconds? What do they do or what do they say? Right, that got that person to follow them.
Yeah,
right, because that's usually what it is. Right, you only get a 1 second.
Yeah,
before people's thumbs start going. Right. So I look for that. I look to see what people are saying in the comments, right? Because you can do the wrong thing and click on somebody where everybody's disagreeing or everybody's, and it's like, I don't want to be that person.
No.
Right? That's the controversial person that's just saying stuff to get clicks.
Is there any value in that?
Yes and no.
You sound like a lawyer now.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's true. It just depends on what your goal of the actual piece is, right?
Okay.
So there's controversial creators where their whole goal is just to be famous. Right? That's the alphas out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's these guys that are doing that movement. They know that people aren't going to necessarily purchase a bunch of stuff from them, or they know that just this specific person will. For instance, let's go to the alpha thing, right? The guys that are alpha males now, that's leading our generation crazy right now, they know that their avatar are young men, right?
True.
Because even the young men that's confident can
like Andrew Tate of the world. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
A confident young man can relate to him, but also the kid with no confidence can also relate because he feels some of that.
Yeah,
so it's just a young man avatar, right? With that though, what are you going to sell that guy, right? If you're trying to make money, right? You got to be able to sell. Like this is the whole point, right? You're trying to get clients. So what are you going to? You're not going to be able to sell them a large product. They don't have it. Like you can't. It's not a big ticket. So maybe this small journal of affirmations. Right, and I can sell millions of those because there's millions of these young men out there. Right, that's my goal to do that. Okay, I just need to make sure that when I'm speaking, I'm giving out good little tidbits that are going to go in that journal.
Yeah,
and that's going to make the most sense. I know a guy that's doing that right now. The author of the journal, the ghostwriter, is literally just taking it from his videos.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh, that's easy. That's good.
When he's rambling and doing his rant on, he's just taking it from there and putting it in.
So what's the interplay between like the short form and the long form videos where like, because I know you could take the long form and create some shorts out of them, all that. Like, what is that interplay? Is there any connection between the two when it comes to the algorithm?
To the algorithm?
Yeah.
So there's separate algorithms. And I think people don't know that either.
Okay, so they don't tie together.
No, it's totally different. But what I say when you should think about short form, the way you should think about shorts is think of it as the Krispy Kreme hot sign.
Okay.
All right. And then the long form is the customer service.
I love that.
All right. So the Chick-fil-A sign, God's restaurant, once you drive past that and you're like, oh, I'm hungry, you bend the corner, you go in there, you get your chick. When they say God bless you when you get your sandwich, that's the YouTube. That's the long form. That's the value. That makes you come back.
Interesting.
The shorts don't necessarily make you come back. It just captures your attention. So you need to have both. All right. There's a lot of people that just do shorts and they do good. And don't get me wrong, you can do good just doing shorts. But if I'm not living with you or I'm not coming back or I'm not retaining the information, I'm not going to remember you when it's time.
Right.
Where that hot sign got you in there, and then the customer service is what got you to come back.
So what's the sales funnel? We're going to look at like a sales funnel because that sounds kind of like the sales funnel in a way. So like someone like Ryan, like what's like the sales funnel look like for him?
So we look at the journey of the customer, right? They find them through the short form videos. Those videos can get millions of views. We can put out as many as we want to because it's short, it's easy to edit, it's easy to get out. All right, so they find them there. They see a clip that they like. They know they want to see more of it because it was more that he said.
Yeah.
So then they end up on YouTube. Then they spend at least another 20 minutes with us. Then they go, all right, there's a couple ways that people do it. It just depends on people's patterns. Either they go Google him to find out more about him personally.
Yeah.
They click the link in one of the bios of the short forms, or they go down to the description of the YouTube video and find a link to click. All right?
Yeah.
They get to a landing page.
So they're going to have to go look somewhere for it. Yeah.
The landing page, though, is where it actually starts to sell.
Right.
Right? You don't necessarily always sell on the platform, but the landing page opens up with a VSL, which is another video of him that looks just like his YouTube videos.
So it matches. It's consistent.
Yep. You know it's him. You know it's not anything tricky. It's him. And he's explaining to you your problem and how he's going to solve it. And he's giving you the offer. And as you scroll down, I need some information from you. Now you're on the email list. Now you're going to get more and more of our funnels coming your way. But in that moment, you have a choice now to make. Do I want to solve my problem and get a cheat code now? Or do I want to do more research? Well, if you want more research, there's more content available.
Yeah.
And you know where you can find them. Right?
So when you were talking about like it matches, I want to make sure I get clarification because you go, let's say it's the golf video, right? Mm-hmm. Like, is that I mean, that set's not going to match whatever the video is that they goes to, right? On the VSL.
Well, there's no golf channel. So the golf video is still, if you want to see more and we getting you to the long form, it's going to go to that podcast set.
Okay.
To what you're sitting at now.
Gotcha. So the set and then the set that you see on the, that's
it looks exactly the same.
Okay.
Like I can ask people, hey, what does Ryan's set look like? And they can name some things about it.
Okay.
Right?
So that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to match the two. It's going to be very familiar to you. The colors are going to kind of match, like the tone of it. It's all going to match to you with each other because it's the branding of it. Right. Yeah. And so like the branding should flow.
That's that persuasion stuff, exactly. Like the Cialdini stuff.
Exactly.
That's exactly what that is.
Exactly. And so that landing page is giving you information. It's got this VSL, the video sales letter at the top. You can hear from him right away. He's walking you through your problem, why you're here, how he can fix it, what the offer is, and what it looks like. In the VSL, he's handling objections already, right? So we've already thought about what the objections are, and then he's going to answer those for you right then. You go from that to going down the list. You're seeing some of the testimonials from other people that have done it. It's the regular sales page, but all of that funnels into then, once you put that information in, a call with a salesperson.
What do you think makes a good offer? I guess what works for you all?
Oh, a good offer?
Yeah.
Something irresistible, which means I get more than what I came for. Right? Where like you're going to solve my problem and I also get this.
Right.
That's a great offer. As a business though, the best offer is something that's really sticky. Right? So for instance, if you joined my program, and I actually have something coming out in December, but if you join that, it's going to come with a CRM that you're going to implement all of your content in, and you're going to have the same structure that I have.
Oh, that's badass.
So it's sticky, right? Yeah. Like it's like, all right, if you don't want to pay the monthly for this anymore, you're going to lose all of that.
Yeah.
That's the best offer for a business.
How do people get that? So do you have that set up yet? If not, we can
December.
We'll put it.
We'll put it.
We'll put in the show notes.
Yeah. So in December, we're going to launch it. It's brand new. But I've literally taken all of our systems and created an actual tech product for it so that you can implement. It's just plug and play.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right now, you can get I have free resources right now on the website that you can get your podcast equipment set up, your all that kind of stuff, easy stuff for you to take and go do. But the CRM is going to be great for like you're trying to manage the content, and then hiring a content manager. It gets really simple because right now I can go on my phone right now and see what my editors are working on.
Right now.
Oh,
that's cool.
Right, the progress change. I get alerts when their progress change because I have to review the videos. So when it's
So you
done,
review every one?
Ryan's I do.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I make sure I watch every single video.
Yeah. So back to like the VSLs and everything. Do you think VSLs would work for lawyers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because it is, again, it's just like simplifying the policy,
Right.
right? Like your wording, you got to think about it, like I do have a criminology degree
It's also the psychology degree.
and a
That's probably very
psychology
effective.
degree.
Yeah.
If I spoke like that, people would be like, what's he talking about? Because even content is a lot of psychology.
Really is. I think it's all psychology.
Yeah, like that's I'm understanding behavior in order to get you to do something. Like that's what this content is. I either want you to like, comment, share, support. Like that's what I'm doing.
It sounds like a lot of it's consistency too, because like you could create. Because I've actually recorded a video sales letter, but I never connected it to anything because I never did anything with it. It's like one I spent a lot of time on years ago. Just never did anything with it. But like if you don't tie it together correctly, it seems like none of it
won't
will
work.
Yeah,
It won't work. That's why the offer has to be good, and that video sales letter is important to that landing page, right? Like, because again, if I have to read it, then I might tap out.
right.
We're in a generation where you want to hide something, put it in the book, right?
Sure.
But if I can watch a video for 12 minutes of you explaining exactly what I'm about to get, and then go, oh yeah, I'm gonna get it. I don't even have to read the rest of the page.
Yeah. How do you stay in front of people? So let's say that they've gone through, they've watched the short, they've watched the video, so they've gone in, got the Krispy Kreme donut, and then now they've gone to the video sales, the VSL page, and then maybe they've given their email address, right?
Right.
But they've not quite committed.
Right.
How do you keep staying with them at that point?
So there's email sequences, different things that we do, right? So for one of them would be we email our list every podcast.
Everyone?
Every single one.
Okay. Nice.
Hey, 3 times a week you're gonna get something saying, check this out.
So you do 3 a week?
And then sometimes we'll do all 3 in one email at the end of the week.
Okay.
So we
You mix it up?
We change it up, right?
Interesting.
Because we don't want to flood your email and like spam you.
Yeah.
So we'll do, hey, these 3 episodes came out with some copy from the copywriter and that kind of thing, and it's a great hook, right? Like you missed it, you should have checked out. He said he confirmed everything we were saying about whatever our product is, right?
Sure,
like
yeah.
those kind of things that you do within the email. So it's going to be hitting your email every week, right? So you're probably gonna click on some more content if you haven't already, right? As far as the shorts, like I said, if you open up your phone right now and you follow Ryan or you follow one of my clients and you don't see a video, then I'm getting ready to add another video a day.
Oh, okay.
Because truly, I'd rather you unfollow than to follow and not take any action.
Explain that to people, because I think that people they do get caught up with having a bunch of followers. They get caught up with a bunch of views. They get caught up with a bunch of subscribers for the newsletter. But having a bunch is not great. It's not always a great thing.
I mean, subs, followers, views, they're vanity metrics to me.
Yep.
Right?
Like revenue. Like revenue is like a vanity. Like there's a lot of vanity numbers. Like if you're losing money and you're making a bunch of revenue, that doesn't mean anything. You're negative profit. You know, so.
You're still in the red. So like I'm more focused, truly, I'm focused on the engagement of the actual consumer. So for me, again, Ryan can grow and we can scale this following. Like if he wants to get to 1 million followers in a couple months, we can figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a difficult thing, really.
I think it's really interesting, like how casually you say that, because there's a lot of people that probably like they would kill to have that many followers, you know.
Yeah.
But like I think it's interesting because like you clearly have figured it out. I just think it's interesting how like casually you say it.
But no, it's just what you're willing to commit to.
Sure.
For you, right? Like let's say, hey, let's go get 10,000 followers next week. I'm okay. What you willing to commit to?
Yeah. Well, okay. What
are
would that
you
take?
willing to do?
Yeah. What would that take?
So for me, like, and again, if I can get you the followers, it won't necessarily make sense to the business.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you want? If you want the followers,
all right, clients.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're getting ready to go down to the strip.
Okay.
You're getting ready to interview people on what they believe would happen if this or this happened.
That's it.
That's it. Because you're gonna get some funny stuff.
Sure.
And some entertaining answers.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, buddy. Hey, this person hit this person with this car, and this is the circumstance. What do you think happens next? And they're gonna be like. And you're going to hear so many different perspectives from so many different personalities.
What do you think this case is worth? That's one.
There's so many questions you can ask
totally.
down there, right? And I know that those will get views, and people will start following you because they find it entertaining. But I don't know that any of those followers will call you when they need help.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna get you the followers and the views. I just don't know that's gonna help your business. Now, if you say, let me help your business, I'm going to tell you, this may take a little longer on growth, but I know this will work for the business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then what usually happens, what people don't understand is with a little time on that, now you get to say, my business is doing this. And that gets people to go, okay, I want to work with him.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
It does, totally.
So it's like, oh, wait, in the last 90 days, you know, you closed how many ever cases with success rate of 98%.
Right.
You've been almost perfect from the field here in getting people their payouts, right?
Yeah.
80% people are like, I want to work with you.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the view on that is boring. Like, it ain't entertaining.
Well, the thing interesting about injury lawyers is we could fudge the numbers because, like, winning a case is very subjective, and
like,
so we always say, well, we withdrew from a case because it wasn't a good case, and so we didn't lose it. Like, you can definitely fudge.
And they do that.
Yeah,
and I know they do that. I know a couple that have come through. We have a couple that film at our studio with us. And I was like, that's not making much sense, bro.
No,
like,
yeah.
That changed a week ago.
Because it could change, absolutely.
Yeah, so, but I say that to say it's how it's packaged and how it's delivered. And so, it's going to be a little slower journey on getting the follower counts, but your business is going to be great.
Yeah.
And I just think too, like people underestimate the local celebrity. They underestimate
that's the big
that.
thing. I agree. I do agree with that. Because you can like the small town lawyers, they can clean up because a big. It is interesting because a lot of times, like, you know, St. Louis is like the big city in Missouri. Like, you got Kansas City as well, but like in southern Missouri, sometimes they want the big city lawyer, but the vast majority want the local lawyer is what they want. So it is interesting. It's like we're able to kind of pick off some cases in other counties, but a lot of times they want the local celebrity lawyer. That's what they want. Yeah,
that's it. They want the person they keep seeing. Ryan, up until probably June of this year, May or June of this year, Ryan ran the same TV commercial for 3 years straight.
The same one.
It hit the commercial, the video that was there. It looked like the new Ryan ate that Ryan.
Really?
No beard, baby face, thin, right out of baseball. Like, he ran that commercial for 3 years straight because it worked locally.
So keep doing what works.
Yeah, don't change anything that's not working.
Okay, so that's a good question though. So let's say you have a high performing video, right? It's like you can't run that over and over again, right?
Why not?
Or so you can.
Why not?
Because you're not going to get hit by the algorithm because I was always worried about something like that where I've got a high performing video. If I keep running it again, I'm gonna get hit by it.
No, so if we have a video that does well, 3 weeks you'll probably see the same video go out, and if it does well again, in another 3 weeks you'll see it again.
Do you modify it much?
The only thing we do just to be safe is we'll re-export the video so that it has different metadata.
Oh, see that part right there is really valuable.
But I don't even know that that's having a massive impact.
Well,
we just rather be on the safe side because if the algorithm picks up you're reposting the same clips, it may do something to hurt it.
Yeah, I'd never considered the metadata because that's how they could track it. It's not based on. That's so interesting because it's not based on what the actual video looks like.
No.
It's the actual data that's in that video.
Right. It's all data. It's all ones and zeros. Is all it's showing. It's numbers and letters. That's it. Like, it doesn't necessarily know what it looks like. It's focused on what the actual file is telling it. So we just re-export it. We also do things where, like, let's say you're doing a direct-to-camera video and you're explaining something. I'll have you film 2 hooks for it.
Okay.
So you'll get 2 videos out of every video. So 2 hooks, 1 body, and a call to action.
That's a great idea. So that way you're not. Yeah. So interesting. And are you recording those like in the same video? Like, that seems like so simple, but so you start with one, and then I'm gonna do the next one, and you just cut them and cut them together.
So what's one thing that you want to tell the audience now in order for them to kind of think of you when it's time that they need a lawyer? What would you say?
So like what they will think like,
just body wise, like what information would you give them that would say that I can trust you?
Yeah. So there's one of the main things we focus on as a firm is like we focus on bad faith and a lot. So I'm gonna use a lot of words, and we can always simplify the message later. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you can get over the policy limits on a lot of injury cases, but even a lot of the attorneys don't know that because they don't understand how bad faith works. And so there's a lot of bad injury attorneys that screw up cases because they don't understand that element. There's a really interesting dynamic that works between the defendant, who's also the insured policyholder, our client and us, and then the insurance company. The insurance company is looking out for their own interest, even though they've got a legal obligation to protect that defendant, but they don't, and they screw them over all the time. So we're able to capitalize that and get above the policy quite a bit. So I guess the message would be is that you shouldn't really settle for for just the policy sometimes, or you shouldn't just settle for that bottom dollar, because many times it seems counterintuitive. If they offer you a lesser amount at the very beginning, that's good for you, because that means you could probably get above the policy. Mm-hmm. So like that's the kind of messaging you can many times get more when you're not selling for the lower amount.
Okay, here's what I would do. That's your body right there, right? What I would do is I would have you state that using I.
Okay.
You said we a bunch. I take we.
I'm more like I like the team approach. Okay, so switch it with interesting.
I would say I because I don't see the team. I see you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
You may give me your team once I get there, but I'm coming for you.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got even this goes for video titles. This goes for descriptions. All of that. No more we. It's all I. What I can do for you.
What about I versus you? I wonder. Like so you can so if I'm focusing more on like that, you can get more money versus I can get you more money. You know what I mean? Like so. What do you think about like that? Or is it still should I focus on me?
It's always going to be the level of trust, right? Where you're currently at.
Okay.
If you're already trusted, it should be I.
Okay.
All right. People that do the you or do the we, it's because they don't feel like they have the authority just yet.
Interesting.
But you're the authority.
Okay.
Right? The power is within your branding and who you are. So always, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, it should be I. He said we again. It should be I. We're going to change that to I. And we're going to end it with simply, I will do blank.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And that will happen. Like they can cut that part out of this clip right now and put that on socials, and it might work.
Right. Yeah.
Even with the we's.
Well, it's
right?
interesting because.
But hold on, before we move on, I want to do this really quick.
Okay. Yeah.
What would be your hook to that body? How does the video start off?
So I gotta fix my wording, and I also have to be. The reason why I was gonna say is like I gotta be careful what I say with the bar too, so I can't guarantee things, right? So, I mean, because I almost have to say like I can sometimes get you more money, or like that's what like because the things that clients want the most is it's usually medical treatment. They want the medical care. That's what they want. Then they want their medical bills paid, and the third on the list is actually money. So like try not to focus too much on the money part of it that we can get them. So if I'm talking about that specifically with bad faith, so how would you shape that where I'm not guaranteeing it because I don't want to use too many words either.
Yeah. So. A good way is always, did you know?
Okay. So that one's the you.
Yeah.
So did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know that sometimes we can get, did you know that sometimes you can get more money for your car crash? Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
That's how you hook.
Okay.
Right? Because it doesn't matter. The eye doesn't matter into the body.
Gotcha. Okay. Eyes in the body.
The hook could be
anything.
However you can frame it.
Yeah.
Right? But like that question goes, oh, I didn't know that. As a viewer, you're immediately engaged because you're like, "What's he about to say next?"
Did you know sometimes you can get more than the policy limit? Like that's like something like that,
right?
Yeah,
right. So now you're posing you're basically stating the problem for people, right? Because they didn't know it, right? And then you're giving the solution, and then you're going, if you want to know more, that's your call to action.
Do you? Okay, so I meant to ask you about that earlier. So do you still throw in the call to action? Like, do you throw in a phone number or like what would a call to action be in that? Send me a DM.
So yeah, simplify it for the platform, right?
Okay.
Like do something, take that action in the platform, or and it shouldn't be every video. People have a bad habit of doing it every single video.
I have a bad habit of that.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you running any paid traffic, like any paid ads?
No.
Okay,
well, like on Google, but not on videos, not for videos.
So if you're running paid ads on like Meta at all, then you can pretty much eliminate the call to action.
True. Good point.
You don't need it because people are going to see the.
We ran those years ago, but we didn't see the.
Yeah. You don't. That is a specific thing that has to be done.
Yeah.
Like right for it to work. But if you're running those, then you don't necessarily need the call to action on every video because people are going to see the ad at some point anyway. If they're seeing your content, they're going to probably see the ad. Whereas if you want to if it's a specific video for that, then yes, I want to throw the ad in there. I'd also try both. Yeah. Right. So I clip this out of your podcast, have you film the hook for it, blah, 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 do all of that. Put a call to action on one and not on the other, and put both out at different times.
That's what's cool about like the live shows too, is you can take and you can you're already doing the work, right? You don't have to like record a bunch of other videos.
No,
you're just cutting from the stuff you've already done.
No, and that's why as a host, even if you're a host of a podcast, you got to be intentional with how you speak about it.
Right.
Because it can be used. Right. I learned that it was a guy named Erwin McManus. He's a pastor. And after I finished my podcast with him, I asked him, I go, man, what's some advice that you would give me? Like you're an excellent communicator, like top level communicator.
Right.
And the first thing he said was master your story. Become great at telling your story. It's the one thing that nobody else can tell better than you. And it's the one thing that's going to draw people in.
Yeah.
Right. Tear the wall down. Right. He was like, and then secondly, you should be framing everything you say as a clickbait or as not a click worthy video. So he was like, so anytime that I answer a question, I'm thinking about, or I've already thought about how it will be clipped out of the video. Because it's almost an advertisement.
We've been focusing on that with Maximum Lawyer a little bit because Becca, like we've been talking about, like I was like, I want better thumbnails, right? She's like, well, you need to do more things like in the actual video.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing something like this, I'm doing this intentionally, right? So she can kind of cut this out. Like so you like that. So that is the framing is something I had not been thinking enough of.
Frameworks in general. So like how you say certain things. For instance, when I go, like I'll say something like, or you'll mention. What's like the way that you for sure guarantee like there'll be some success on the platform? And I'm like, your consistency. Make sure that you're just staying in front of people and always posting something. Or I can say, like, have you ever heard of the saying the squeaky wheel gets the attention?
Sure. Yeah.
It's two different ways of saying the same thing.
Completely.
One of them is going to be thought-provoking and have people like, the squeaky wheel does get the attention.
Yeah.
Right? And then the other half of that is, the quiet wheel gets ignored. You should be a squeaky wheel.
Right. That
can be framed so that it can be clipped and put out and everybody goes, oh man, this guy is good. Like he's deep. He can say things, right? And you know what I mean? Like even the only cheat code is consistency is a clip, right? Like that can be used, right? So these are all things that you got to be thinking about on how you speak and how you say it. What happens though is repetition, it just becomes natural.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, that's you now when you're even trying to close the client.
It's like talking in sound bites.
Exactly. Yes. It's true.
Yeah.
Right? But it's true, but it's a natural thing because you're saying everything that, like, you're going to answer the same questions over and over again, which is a huge thing. Even the point about, like, lawyers, right? They're like, I don't know if I have time for the media side of things. There shouldn't be anyone that doesn't want to come on your show as a lawyer that's trying to get exposure.
Sure.
They don't have to have their own podcast. There's enough of them now where you can just go on tour.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, you can go on tour and get as much media. And now I can get clips from everybody. I don't even need to make my own. So it's like there's ways of doing that, but understanding how to frame what you're saying so that it fits what you're actually trying to promote is a big piece.
I love that.
The best do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the best of them do it. It's funny. Sometimes I'm filming and I'm like, yeah, he's going in. Like, he knows. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, he's get it. This is going to be all over our page and our audience is going to see this. And there's going to be people that click this. So my mind immediately goes, make sure I get an affiliate link from this guy.
Yes. That's
make sure that,
smart.
You know what I mean? Like, because we're going to make something off of him saying all of this. Like, those kind of things.
Yeah. So I'll start to wrap things up a little bit. And like, what would your message be for lawyers going forward, getting into social media?
Yeah. My message is always going to be figure out how to create content consistently without the expense of changing your lifestyle, right? So what you do on the daily may feel boring, may feel like it's not worthy of video, but that may be the perfect thing that gets your business to the next level. So find a way to create content that's centered around your everyday work, and just get comfortable with the like being on camera, right? Because that's the hard part. So that's what I would encourage lawyers specifically, and then also think about what your messaging really is, right? Like, what is it that you want the people that will support you to hear from you? If you could do those two things and you can put those out consistently, you'll see results. That's the one thing that I can guarantee.
What content are they watching? Yeah, I love it. That's great. So, thanks, Justin. Really appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely,
this is awesome.
man. Glad to be here, dude.
Yeah, love it.